A man who lives alone without a girlfriend. The power of self-discovery and focus. In a bustling city, there lived a man named David who had chosen a life of solitude. Unlike most of his peers who were in relationships, David didn't have a girlfriend, nor did he feel the need to chase after one. His life, though seemingly lonely on the surface, was filled with deep introspection, self-discovery, and a relentless pursuit of personal growth. David wasn't against love or relationships. In fact, he deeply valued them. But he realized something profound, that in order to build a life worth sharing with someone else, he first needed to build a life he was proud of on his own. And so, David's journey of self-empowerment began. The early struggles. In the beginning, David's decision to live alone, especially without a romantic partner, was met with judgment from friends and family. They would often ask, "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" Or, "Are you sure you don't want a companion?" The pressure from society to be in a relationship was overwhelming at times. There were moments when he felt isolated, when he questioned his choices. But David knew that the loneliness he felt wasn't a sign of weakness. It was an opportunity for growth. David began to learn the art of being content with his own company. He spent time reflecting on his goals, dreams, and passions. His days became filled with self-discovery, where every challenge was seen as a stepping stone to building the best version of himself. He started reading books on self-improvement, exploring new hobbies, and learning skills that would serve him in the long run. David realized that the key to fulfillment wasn't waiting for someone else to come into his life, but in creating a life that he could be proud of, regardless of his relationship status. The value of self-reliance. One of the most important lessons David learned was the power of self-reliance. Rather than depending on someone else for happiness, he started finding contentment in his own achievements. When he faced setbacks, he learned to pick himself up without leaning on anyone for emotional support. He learned that being alone didn't mean being lonely. It meant having the space to focus on his own growth, without the distractions or expectations of others. David also discovered the importance of setting goals and working toward them every single day. Whether it was waking up early to exercise, dedicating time to his career, or taking up new projects, David took ownership of his life. He understood that happiness comes from progress, not perfection. Every small step forward was a victory, and every failure was a lesson that would bring him closer to his true potential. Rediscovering true fulfillment. As time passed, David's life became more meaningful. His personal growth and accomplishments began to draw attention from others. People started noticing how focused, confident, and self-assured he had become. What began as a journey of solitude had transformed into a path of empowerment. One day, David met someone. She wasn't someone he was actively seeking, but their connection was natural and effortless. The difference now, however, was that David was no longer trying to fill an emotional void or looking for someone to complete him. He had already worked hard to build a full, vibrant life for himself, and any relationship from this point on would be an addition to that life, not the center of it. David's story isn't just about being single or living without a girlfriend. It's about the power of self-discovery, self-love, and self-reliance. He had learned that true happiness doesn't come from external sources, but from within. The love and validation that David sought for so long were already inside of him, waiting to be uncovered. The power of self-improvement. In his journey, David discovered that when you invest in yourself, everything else falls into place. By focusing on his growth, he attracted the right people into his life, whether that meant friendships, mentors, or a future romantic partner who appreciated him for who he truly was. Living alone didn't mean he had to live a life of deprivation or loneliness. It meant living with intention, creating a foundation of self-respect, and living a life that was fulfilling in its own right. David knew that in order to be the best partner to someone else in the future, he needed to be the best version of himself first. In the end, David's journey wasn't about avoiding relationships or rejecting love. It was about prioritizing personal growth and ensuring that when love did enter his life, it would be on his own terms. He learned that being single was not a reflection of his worth, but an opportunity to build a life that was rich in purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. The realization. One evening, as David sat on his balcony, watching the sunset, he realized that he had truly found happiness, not in the presence of someone else, but in his own progress. He didn't need a relationship to feel validated or complete. He had learned the hard way that the most important relationship in life is the one you have with yourself. Through his time alone, David discovered the incredible strength of inner peace, self-love, and persistence. His story serves as a reminder that we all have the power to build lives that are rich with meaning, regardless of our relationship status. So for anyone out there who might be feeling pressured by society or by others to be in a relationship, remember David's story. Happiness doesn't come from another person, it comes from finding fulfillment within yourself. The path to true happiness is not about waiting for the right person to come along, but about becoming the right person for yourself first. Moral of the story: the most important relationship you can ever have is the one with yourself. Only by mastering self-love, self-reliance, and personal growth can you build a life that is truly fulfilling. Once you are at peace with who you are, everything else will fall into place, including relationships. Moral reflection: you don't need a romantic partner to be whole. True happiness comes from within. When you invest in yourself, your personal growth, and your well-being, everything else will naturally align with your journey.